The shocking truth: does God support wars? Discover what the Bible says at 3 a.m. In the dead of night, when shadows stretch long and the world is wrapped in silence, a question bubbles to the surface. A question that could shatter beliefs and change the course of history. Does God really support wars? It sounds outrageous, right? But the Bible whispers secrets that some would rather keep hidden. There's an old verse, tucked away in the pages, that seems to stir the air with its ancient energy. It's a truth so shocking that every time it's uttered, the room seems to hold its breath. A flicker of candlelight dances across the words, each syllable drips with a weight that feels almost palpable. People have been known to gather to hear these revelations, murmuring in hushed tones with eyes wide, hearts pounding. Wars waged in His name. What if, in following these words, a war was not just permitted, but endorsed? The thought prickles the skin, sending chills down spines. You can almost hear the gasps of the crowd, the sharp intake of breath as they confront this reality. As dawn approaches, there's a foreboding shift in the atmosphere, an eerie anticipation that grips the gathering. Conversations flutter, like nervous birds. Did you hear about the last revival? Someone whispers, their voice trembling with excitement. They uncovered something sinister. The tension thickens, as if the air itself is charged with electricity. Everyone feels it, the weight of history pressing down on their shoulders, urging them to seek the truth. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. But as the candles flicker out and shadows stretch back into their corners, a dreadful realization dawns. Truth is a double-edged sword, and once it's unleashed, there's no capturing it again. What if there's a darkness that lurks just beneath the surface of faith, waiting for the moment of revelation to strike? There's a chilling question brewing at the edges of this discovery, whispering louder now. What horrors might we uncover about the sacred texts we've held dear? The room seems to shrink, hearts racing, breath hitching. What happens next could shake the very foundation of belief, and we're just getting started. The atmosphere grew heavier, thick with anticipation, as faces morphed from curiosity to dread. Fear clung to the air like a fog, wrapping around each person present. The flickering light from the candles sharpened shadows, creating monstrous shapes that seemed to inch closer to the terrified crowd. What if they find out? A voice quivered in the back, cracking under the weight of the question. It wasn't just the words that sent ripples of unease throughout the gathering. A deeper fear gnawed at everyone, the fear of exposure. The truth was no longer just a concept, it was a living, breathing entity infiltrating their lives and pitting faith against the mistakes of humanity. As if on cue, the leading figure of the revival, Brother Eli, stepped forward. His eyes glimmered with a zeal that had electrified crowds before, but tonight, they held something darker. We must confront it head-on, he commanded, voice booming through the stillness, demanding attention. If the scriptures support war, then we must ask ourselves, are we warriors of righteousness or pawns in a divine game? Gasps echoed, shuddering through the throng like a gust of wind. Some shook their heads in disbelief, their tightly clutched Bibles trembling in their hands. Others leaned in, hunger for knowledge battling with their instincts to flee. But no one could move. Shadows danced in the corners, and a chilly draft whispered unsettling thoughts. Why would a benevolent God allow such chaos? If faith was supposed to reassure, why did it feel so terrifying now? Dread coiled tighter, a serpent ready to strike. Suddenly, the power flickered. The lights dimmed, and for a moment, panic swelled, but Eli raised an arm. Fear not. This is a sign. His face shone with fervor, yet his eyes held a tremor. We are about to unravel the secrets buried deep within the holy texts. Secrets that could shine a blinding light or drag us into the darkest abyss. As he spoke, a hush fell over the crowd, hearts thundering in unison. Eli continued, "Scriptures mention wars, battles fought in the name of heaven and hell. But what of the aftermath? Have we become the very monsters we fear?" Seconds stretched impossibly, minds racing, contemplating the horrors of the past, the bloodied pages marking humanity's history. A murmur swelled in the group, voices trembling with uncertainty. "What does this mean for us?" Someone asked, fear etched into every syllable. Eli's lips curled into a grim smile, "It means we question everything." A palpable tension snapped through the air, every breath held captive. Wars waged in his name have wrought devastation, and we must decide how, if at all, we stand in the face of this revelation. And just like that, the room exploded with chaos. People cried, shouted, and retreated into corners. The fear became a living thing, crawling under skin and latching onto soul. As panic spread, a single candle flickered one last time before extinguishing completely, plunging them into darkness. Silence swallowed the room, a dark void filled with dread. It felt like a curtain drawing back to reveal a horrifying truth. What hadn't they been told? With hearts racing and eyes adjusting to the sudden gloom, gasps broke the stillness. Was it a figment of their fears or something more sinister lurking just beyond their perception? And in that moment of quiet desperation, a single thought echoed louder than ever: what other horrors lay nestled within those sacred pages, waiting patiently for the right souls to awaken them? The darkness loomed, eager to consume. The darkness enveloped them, thick and suffocating. Eyes strained, searching for any flicker of light against the abyss. A heartbeat echoed in the silence, a relentless drum of fear. Then came a murmur, a low whisper that slithered through the crowd, igniting uncertainty. What if it's true?" Eli's voice cut through the oppressive gloom, louder now, bursting with a fervor that crackled in the air. "A true warrior must embrace the darkness. What a battle without sacrifice?" His words were a challenge, sharp and biting, dragging the listeners back from the brink of panic. They were caught, held captive by his fire and their own dread. People shifted uneasily, arms wrapped around themselves as if to ward off the chill creeping into their bones. Then, against the silence, came a shout from the back. "You're misleading us. This isn't what we came for." Anxiety threatened to tear the crowd apart. "Misleading?" Eli laughed, but the sound was hollow. "Or awakening?" A sharp gasp cut through the whispers. Someone in the front stumbled back, eyes wide, pointing into the void. Something's changing." The crowd shifted, all eyes turned in that direction. The air shimmered faintly as if a curtain of energy was parting. With each breath drawn, the weight of their fears melded with a unique kind of anticipation, the kind that teetered on the edge of madness and enlightenment. They stood together in the dark like moths drawn to an unseen flame, unable to resist what lay ahead. In the haze, a low rumble began, an ominous sound rising from somewhere deep within the building. The walls trembled, as if something ancient stirred. Somewhere in the depth of their collective dread, the idea bloomed: what if godlessness stretched farther than they had imagined? What horrors were entangled in the fabric of their beliefs? Eli's eyes glinted dangerously as he paced before them. "We must not shrink back. This darkness, it is an invitation to truth. The scriptures show us battles fought on earth, but what of the spiritual war? You think your fear is unwarranted? Think again. Are we pawns?" Someone shouted desperately. "Or are we victims? Both can be true. But the power lies in choice," Eli declared, voice unyielding. "And tonight, we choose to reveal the hidden pages, those left unread. We choose to unmask everything we failed to confront." With resolution swelling, each person felt the air shift, tangibly filled with both dread and a flicker of hope. The darkness now took on a new shape, becoming a canvas for their deepest fears to play out. What if their sacred texts harbored truths even they could not bear? Eli reached into his coat, producing an ancient, weathered book, its pages frayed and stained. Gasps erupted from the crowd once more, an unspoken agreement silent yet strong. This was at the moment they had all secretly feared yet craved. He held the book high, illuminated by the dim light of their dwindling candles. Let us read the words. Let us face what lies hidden within these pages. Sweat dripped down the spines of those gathered, murmurs broke into shouts, rising with every breath as if stirred by an unseen force. They were on the brink of something monumental, the line between revelation and horror blurring. But the air thickened again, signals of danger sparking like fireworks igniting the night sky. The walls creaked as if protesting the truths to come, and suddenly, the floor trembled, sending a thunderous rumble through the hall. And then, pulsating shadows began to swirl, coalescing around Eli and his fervent words. The fear rushed back, but it was no longer just fear, it was raw, undiluted terror, and it gripped each heart like a vice. What if the truths they were about to unearth were not only unbearable but irrevocably changed everything they knew? As Eli opened the ancient tome, the crowd felt a chill pierce through the warmth of their breath. Words began to rise from the pages, wrapping around them like chains, words they were never meant to know. And just like that, darkness deepened as the shadows twisted tighter, echoing with an ominous laughter that sent them staggering back. What had they truly awakened? The book trembled in Eli's hands, ready to spill its haunting secrets upon them. The room fell silent, yet an electric pulse of fear vibrated in the air. Each person could almost feel their hearts quaking at the edge of shadows. Eli inhaled deeply, determination brewing in his chest, but he could see the trepidation etched on faces around him. Listen closely. He shouted, gripping the ancient book tighter, as if it were a beacon in the dark. These words will change everything you think you know. They will pierce through the veil the world has pulled over our eyes. The shadows twisted on the walls, dark tendrils spiraling near Eli, weaving a tangled web that seemed to breathe with sinister life. As the whispers from the pages grew louder, chaotic and demanding, he fought against the rising tide of doubt crashing over him. Would they dare to decipher the truth lurking there, or were they cursed to live in the blindness of their fears? Suddenly, a vibrating crack split through the tension-filled air, and a blinding light erupted from the book. Eli stumbled back, nearly losing his grip, as the crowd gasped collectively. It was as if the darkness recoiled from the illumination, exposing fugitive patches of light, echoing shifts of clarity, and something much darker. Look! Something's coming out. A voice screamed, tinged with panic. They all turned to face where the light poured from, the air shimmering as shapes appeared within the radiance. Shadows flickered, forming pale, indistinct figures. They were unearthly yet familiar, reflections of dread birthed from the mind's deepest corners, faces of lost generations intertwined with the specters of those who had come before. Eli fought to maintain composure. These are not our enemies. They speak of forgotten truths. We have to listen. The figures swayed, their anguished expressions pleading for recognition, longing to be heard. A low wail rose from the depths of the mass, an unholy chorus that tugged at the fabric of reality, wrapping around each soul like a shroud. What do they want? A voice trembled in the back. Knowledge. They were silenced because of knowledge. Eli bellowed over the tumult, fighting to keep the audience from breaking. Or punishment, for those who dared search beyond. Someone whispered from the shadows that in that moment, something shifted. The figures drew closer, their anguished faces bearing the scars of past wars fought in the name of faith. Eli's heart raced, remembering stories told in the quiet corners of the world of commandments misused, of sacred texts twisted to justify violence and division. Listen. Eli implored again, desperation clawing at his throat. What you are feeling is truth, raw and unfiltered. This is why they haunt the pages. They want us to remember. Yet, fear loomed heavier than the truth. Some were pushing their way back, frantically glancing for exits, their breaths hitching in their throats like caged animals. Outside, the night wind howled through the cracks in the building, echoing the tumult within. Let them go. A terrified voice screamed, we can't handle this. But Eli fought back, rising above the uncertainty enveloping him. No. Don't let fear win. It's time to confront. The air buzzed and crackled like a storm brewing on the horizon. Shadows began to orbit Eli, warping and distorting as their voices merged into a deafening roar. You must unveil the truth. We cannot remain silent. The words will consume you if you turn away. Frantic murmurs erupted, a crescendo of voices grappling with the dread and exhilaration intertwined in the moment. Faces blended in fear as they considered their next step. Was it too late to back away? The ancient tome pulsed rhythmically in Eli's hands, as the figures emerged fully, their eyes glimmering with secrets ready to be shared or lost forever. Will you heed their calls? Eli challenged boldly, his eyes alight with a mix of urgency and defiance. Will you face the shame and guilt rooted in our beliefs? Just then, the ground shook violently, and the shadows erupted in a whirlwind around them. The walls howled, and flickering lights overhead shattered as silhouettes dashed toward the dark corners. In that din, amidst the chaos, something monstrous began to take form, a massive entity from the shadows, camouflaging horror and truth, something nobody was ready to face. Eli shouted as he strained to hold his ground, will you be brave enough to embrace truth? But before anyone could respond, a bone-chilling scream sliced through the air, a voice that resonated with despair echoed across the crowd. What had they unleashed? Would they follow Eli further into darkness or turn back and leave the truth buried forever? The room trembled, its very foundation quaking as the shadowy mass swirled before them. Eli's heart pounded like a war drum, each beat echoing with the realization that they had awakened something ancient and powerful. The faces around him twisted in fear, some mere silhouettes against the chaos, others frozen in shock or horror. What is that? A voice trembled from the back, barely audible over the cacophony of crashing darkness. I don't know. Eli shouted back, fighting to keep the rising tide of panic from engulfing him. But we can't let it control us. The shadows roared, a deep guttural sound vibrating through their bones. It wasn't just noise, it was like the very essence of despair being exhaled, the collective fear of all who had been wronged rising to the surface. Eli raised the book high, willing the light within it to push back the encroaching darkness. Show us your truth. He called, voice steady despite the trembling of his hands. The monstrous form shifted, morphing and swirling as if struggling against an unseen force. Wisps of light danced through the darkness, revealing fleeting images, schools of children, classrooms ablaze, ancestral warriors with bloodied swords, and civilians fleeing wars they never asked for. Eli felt the weight of their collective history pressing down on him, each image a stab of guilt, anger, and unfathomable sorrow. What is this madness? Someone yelled from the edge of the crowd, backing away, their face pale. This isn't what we signed up for. It's the reckoning. Eli cried, desperation clawing at him. These are the echoes of our past. We need to understand what led us here if we're to move forward. But fear reigned. The figures' wails intensified, their faces twisted in anguish. Each spectral visage echoed the pain of betrayal, of faith turned to fanaticism. Look closer. Eli urged, stepping toward the glowing edges of the book, hoping to guide their attention. These are not spirits of vengeance, they are shadows of truth yearning to be freed. And in that moment, the air thickened like molasses. Eli saw flashes of light and suddenly there was clarity. A single figure stepped forth from the mass, more defined than the rest. It had the brightness of a star, yet its features were rugged, some twisted reflection of a thoughtful warrior. Do you seek to understand? The figure asked, its voice resonating like thunder yet soothing, too. Or will you turn away, lost in your fears? Eli felt something inside him shift. We seek to understand. We want to know why. The room shuddered and the ghostly figure took another step forward, engulfed in a radiant glow. To unlock knowledge, you must confront your own seeds of division. It pointed to the crowd, its gaze firm. You have made monsters of each other, while I tried to guide you toward unity. Will you face your reflection? As murmurs washed over the crowd, anger sparked within them. What do you mean by that? Who are you to judge us? Someone shouted defiantly. One who has seen your blind spots. The figure replied, shimmering with light. The wars waged in my name are shameful curses, yet I've been misconstrued far beyond your understanding. To seek the truth, you must face the oppressive shackles of your beliefs. The shadows shrieked, the dreadful chorus intensifying, as if protesting the revelation. Eli gripped the book harder, sensing it drawing from their tumult of emotions, channeling the energy of their uncertainty. Can we change? A voice broke from the throng, cracking with emotion. Change is born from understanding, the figure said. But first, you must look beyond the fabrications of fear. You misinterpret my words, using them to justify your savagery. Eli swallowed hard. What if we listen? What if we learn? A sudden, terrible silence fell. Everyone's breath seemed suspended in the air, caught in that fragile moment between fear and hope. What happens next? Someone dared to voice. Eli's heart raced, the looming figure's question still echoing in his mind. What indeed lay ahead, transformation or annihilation? The shadow tremors began to wrap around Eli like coiling serpents, and he braced for what was to come. A deep rumble resonated as the air split, dislodging everything in the room. The light faltered, casting eerie darkness across the faces turned toward him, the tension palpable. What will you choose? Whispered the voice, echoing like a haunting refrain. Before Eli could answer, the ground cracked, and a brilliant light exploded from the book, washing over them, blinding, searing, pulling them closer to the edge of the unknown. In that instant, the shadows surged, engulfing everything. What lay beyond? Would Eli and the crowd emerge into redemption or despair? The blinding light consumed Eli, shattering the darkness that had devoured the room just moments before. He gasped as the warmth enveloped him, a desperate plea for clarity entwining in his mind. Would they walk away from the wreckage of their past, or would they succumb to the chaos? Suddenly, the illumination coalesced, forming ethereal figures around him, children laughing, families embracing, warriors holding hands rather than weapons. They spun in an intricate dance of forgotten joy. Eli felt tears brimming in his eyes, a weight lifting as the despair began to dissolve. The ghostly warrior stood beside him, its presence steadying. This is your truth, it uttered solemnly, its voice a gentle breeze against Eli's senses. These are the moments you must remember. They are intertwined with the darkness that yokes you. The crowd slowly stirred, faces flickering between fear and wonder. Eli's heart raced. Had they truly been offered a glimpse of hope? But just as quickly, the joyous apparitions began to shift again, melding into those haunting visions of war and chaos. Why are you showing us this? Eli pleaded, his voice cracking. Will these memories heal us? They must, the figure replied, morphing into different shades of emotion, creating a visceral tapestry of their shared truths. You bear the responsibility of choosing. Will you embrace compassion, or will anger reignite the flames of hatred? Murmurs rippled through the crowd, uncertainty pulsing within them. We can't change the past. Someone shouted, anger lacing their tone. We're trapped. No. It is your choices today that define tomorrow, the figure declared with fierce clarity. You have the power to break the cycle. Eli felt his resolve hardening, like steel forging against fire. What if we try? What if we risk understanding? A nervous laughter broke the tension. So we face our fears together. Pull each other from the abyss. A woman remarked, her voice a thread of uncertainty. Together, or apart, Eli murmured, his eyes hardening. We can rebuild or destroy. But we're stronger united, aren't we? As the spectral light ebbed, images of war began to interlace with scenes of gatherings, dialogues, forgiveness. Eli felt a shift, a crack forming in the shackles that had bound them to the past. But then, without warning, the shadows surged anew, furious and vengeful. The air grew heavy with malevolence, wrapping around their hearts. You think you can change what was written? The dark whispers hissed, claws of fury grazing against the edges of Eli's mind. You will fail. A claustrophobic silence fell over the crowd, breaths held tight. The embodiment of darkness loomed larger, a mass of swirling dread. You are destined to repeat your mistakes, it rumbled, projections of misery flashing in every direction. Eli gripped the book tighter, his knuckles white. We refuse to be your puppets. He shouted, voice rising above the cacophony. The tension reached a fever pitch. He felt the crowd's energy shifting, the weight of fear pressing down until someone roared defiantly, we choose hope. That shout ignited something in the people, sparking a fire. One by one, voices joined in a chorus, echoing Eli's sentiment. The very air vibrated with their declarations, the light returning with renewed vigor. But within that surge, a shadow loomed. It twisted, threatening to consume their resolve. Fools! It howled, the sound reverberating through their bones. You cannot outrun your destiny. As Eli's heart swelled with hope, the fierce glow of unity fought back against the darkness, bracing for a collision that felt inevitable. Could this finally be the moment they reclaimed their truth? The room began to quake again, but this time it wasn't just fear, it was anticipation, a storm rolling in, one that could bring cleansing rain or catastrophic ruin. Will you stand firm, or will you fold? The ghostly warrior questioned, a flicker of concern in its voice. And just like that, the ground beneath them erupted again, the shadows thrumming with fury. What would emerge from this tempest? Would they find freedom? Or be swallowed whole by their darkest fears? Eli's breath quickened, his heart aflame with uncertainty and hope, teetering on the edge of change. The answer hung in the air, tantalizing yet elusive. What was their destiny? Would they fight for it together, or fall apart? The tremors intensified, cascading waves of pure energy rippling through the air, as if the very fabric of reality was stretched to its breaking point. Eli's senses overloaded. Faces around him shifted away from hope into a canvas of fright. Stay together! He shouted, desperately clawing for unity. The words hung in the air, carried away by the rising howl of darkness. The spectral figures flickered violently, their joyous expressions turning to dread as the shadows reached for them, tendrils of despair extending like black smoke, hungry for their warmth. Eli grasped the hands of those next to him, willing them to hold on tight. Remember the laughter. He urged, voice trembling but fierce. Remember the families. The connections. We have fought passionately for love. But what if it's too late? A man cried, his voice cracking under the weight of fear. What if the past is stronger than our hope? No. A woman with fierce eyes broke in, her sorrow a battle cry. It's our moment. We can break this cycle. She stepped forward, her spirit igniting within the tunnel of darkness. For every loss, there's a chance for rebuilding. The dark mass hummed, vibrating with rage. Futility. It bellowed, eyes like dying coals aflame with malice. You think you will succeed where others have failed? You lack the strength. But Eli felt a pulse growing in the center of their circle. He drew strength from it. Maybe it's not about strength. Maybe it's about choice. He shouted, emboldened by the power of their unity. Suddenly, a flash of blinding light erupted, forcing the shadows back momentarily. The warrior beside Eli shouted, your hearts contain the strength of generations. Call upon it. A roar of ancestral voices flooded the space. Eli felt their energy coursing through him, victors and survivors, their struggles burning brightly. You carry their legacy. The warrior urged, and the figures of joy returned, confident this time. We stand together. Eli cried, tears streaming down his cheeks, fusing determination with emotion. We are stronger together. We will not let shame dictate our paths. One by one, they joined hands, forming a chain that tightened with every voice. We choose compassion. The crowd thundered, a declaration of defiance against the dark that I and its fury. The shadow twisted and writhed like a trapped beast, clawing at the edges of their burgeoning light. It lashed out, attempting to break their connection. Shatter your faith. It roared. Tear apart what binds you. But the light surged, a backlash that pushed against the darkness, blistering heat radiating outward. Each word reverberated with purpose as they repeated their resolution. Compassion. Unity. Hope. And in that chaotic moment, a crack appeared in the darkness, a delicate stream of light fracturing the suffocating gloom. Eli felt the rush he could barely comprehend it, the sweet nectar of possibility swirling around him, time-warped as shadows roared and crested, pushing against the blinding hope. Eli's heart wavered. Will the light hold? He wondered, doubt beginning to creep in again. But then he saw her, the woman with fierce eyes, standing tall and unyielding. We are together. She hollered, emboldening those near her. Yes. Together. Eli echoed, desperation mixing with exhilaration. They were reaching for it, for the chance of salvation. Yet beneath the surge of solidarity, a deep voice whispered in his ear, flicking his mind like a flame. False hope, it taunted, insidious and chilling. This light won't protect you. Your past will consume you. Just like before, Eli's breath quickened, the pressure surging in waves. Was it true? Could the shadows devour them again? His heart thudded painfully in his chest as the ground shook more violently. Eli felt an overwhelming sense of dread swallow him whole. They might falter. But he realized something fierce and vibrant. Those ghastly whispers could not drown out the strength of their unity. It was time. Stand firm. He roared, adrenaline coursing like wildfire. Face the darkness, but do not flinch. With their hearts aflame and fists raised high, the deafening roar of the crowd filled the air yet again. Suddenly, reality felt torn, the battle-breaching edges of existence, where past mistakes loomed, but there was still strength. Wasn't he there, in that critical moment, as shadows writhed and light fought back hard? Eli prepared himself. There was still one question echoing louder than the noise: who would emerge from this battle, and at what cost? The crack in the darkness widened, revealing a blinding radiance that beckoned desperate hearts. Eli's pulse raced as he witnessed spectral figures, an extended family of souls, emerging from that flickering light, their faces transformed by unyielding strength and purpose. Hope flowed between them like wildfire, igniting every soul caught in the maelstrom, yet the shadows recoiled angrily, their hiss reverberating like 1,000 nails on a chalkboard. Fools! It screeched, a voice that felt like ice slicing through the warmth. You cannot erase the past. Your joys will soon turn to ashes. Eli's gaze darted to the hearts around him. Faces that had once wavered now shone with determination. The woman with fierce eyes, the same one who had sparked defiance, stepped into the radiance like a warrior of old. She raised her arms, pulling everyone's eyes toward her. We do not erase our past, we embrace it. We learn. We choose to break free. The ground trembled beneath them, the howl of shadows intensified. Eli felt the deep rumblings beneath his feet. He could almost sense the shadows writhing beneath the surface, reminding him of all the things left undone, the burdens carried too long. Doubt seeped in again. What if the darkness had a deeper hold than they realized? But then another voice rose amidst the chorus of hope. A young girl, no older than 10, stepped forward from the crowd, her small hands trembling. I'm scared, she whispered, her innocence cutting through the chaos. What if we can't win? Eli felt an ache in his chest. This was at the power of their connections. It's okay to be scared, he said, crouching to her eye level. We're all scared. But fear defines us only if we let it. What lies within you, light or darkness? It's your choice. As he spoke, Eli noticed a flicker in the girl's eyes, the faintest hint of defiance igniting her spirit. Light! She shouted, her voice overcoming the shadow's anguished screams. Yes. The crowd erupted, their voices weaving together into a tapestry of resilience. Light. The darkness, trembling with rage, surged forward, trying to snuff out their flame. You are weak. You will suffer as they once did. It roared, each syllable filled with venomous intent, but Eli, filled with fire, raised his voice above the clamor. We suffer to grow. We transform pain into purpose. We are not defined by despair. The crack widened once more, spewing light into the crevices of the night. Eli could see now the silhouettes in the brightness were more than figures of memory, they were their ancestors, warriors of all loves lost but never forgotten. That in a moment of fierce clarity, he felt the weight of their history, the sacrifices made, woven irrevocably into the fabric of their present. Remember them. He bellowed, feeling their energy resonate within him. Feel the love. Acknowledge the lessons. Another surge of fierce light exploded outward, igniting the collective spirit. Eli and the crowd squeezed their hands tightly together, drawing strength from their shared pain and victories, yet even as this surge began to turn the tide, Eli's mind flickered back to that deep voice lurking within. Where is God in this? It whispered in the folds of doubt. Where is hope when suffering wages war against your hearts? Suddenly, he felt an insidious chill creep back into his mind. For the first time, he wavered. Was there defiance enough? Was faith a weapon or a gentle salve? As the darkness recoiled, still seeking to counter their light, Eli found himself thrust into a fevered whirl of emotion: fear, hope, doubt, love. In that dizzying moment, he struggled for clarity amidst the chaos. God! He gasped, teeth clenched, battling despair. Do you stand with us? And then, from somewhere deep within the blinding light, a soft voice emerged, echoing wisdom that enveloped him, a whisper filled with unfathomable mystery. My child, faith is not about guarantees. It is about choices made in the darkness. The shadows surged, swallowing Eli's consciousness for a split second. Just as the darkness sought to claim him again, the radiance ignited at his core. He was not alone. But as he desperately grasped for the voice again, the darkness stretched its arms wide, threatening to engulf them all. A choice loomed, one that would echo through generations. Could Eli and his companions turn the tide against the lurking shadows, or would doubt shatter their fragile connection? The swirling maelstrom hovered, whispering secrets and stirring unsaid truths, a battle not just against darkness, but within the very heart of faith itself. The blinding light pulsed, shimmering like a heartbeat in an otherwise frozen world. Eli felt every pulse thrumming through him, every whisper of hope grazing his skin as the shadows writhed and hissed around them, furious and suffocating. He took a deep breath, bracing against the swell of darkness, feeling the heat of determination fuel him deeper. Together! He shouted, rallying the crowd. We stand together. Their voices swelled louder, defiance crackling in the air, thunderous hammers against the inky abyss that sought to steal their joy. Eli's heart thundered with the rising tide of courage, but still, doubt crawled through like an unwelcome guest, whispering insidiously at the edges of his resolve. As they focused their collective energy, the spectral figures shifted closer, illuminating the faces of their ancestors brimming with fierce love and fierce grief. Eli could see the pain etched in their eyes, tales of redemption waiting to tumble into the present. It was then he noticed a man among them, tall, stoic, with a gentle but haunting gaze. Grandfather? Eli's voice broke through the chaos, trembling with disbelief. The elder nodded slightly, the profound weight of generations held within that one simple gesture. Eli, he spoke, his voice breaking, reverberating against the shadow's growls. You have more power than you know. Remember, it is within your fear that your true strength lies. Choose to wield it. With those words, Eli felt a swell of warmth wash over him. Fear transformed into something sharper, and anger, a passion that twisted and burned like fire in his veins. He turned back to the crowd, eyes fierce with newfound clarity, drawing strength from both ancestors and companions. Let fear ignite our purpose. He called out. The crowd roared in agreement, fire in their eyes, hearts pounding as if mocking the darkness that threatened to absorb them whole, but then the shadows lunged forward, sharp edges slicing through their assurance. Your lineage is stained. It screeched like a banshee. You will never be free from the chains of your past. Your cries will only echo in futility. Eli's heart raced. He felt like they were teetering on the edge of a monumental cliff, wind screaming past their ears. This was that moment, the moment to either break through or plunge into despair. But then a flicker of an idea landed in his mind, coalescing into a vibrant question. Everything we are has come from those who faced the darkness before. Eli shouted. We are not their mistakes. We are their lessons. And with each word, he felt a tidal wave of light surge against the gnashing shadows. We are not bound by their failures, he called, conviction echoing. We rise because they dared to fight. Hope surged like a tidal wave, cascading through the crowd until their energies surged as one. Eli glimpsed glimmers of light igniting in the eyes of those around him, old, young, fearful, and brave alike. It rose higher than before, shimmering, illuminating every inch of their souls. Shatter the darkness. The woman with fierce eyes cried, her voice lifting as it soared into the storm like an arrow unleashed. Shatter the chains. But even as they poured out their strength, Eli could see the shadows morphing, dark fists tightening, suffocating against the light, clawing at their resolve. You cannot escape your nature. It bellowed in furious desperation, ripping through their chants. Then let us redefine it. Eli challenged, feeling the energy flicker and crackle all around. Let us choose our path. Whatever destiny awaits, we embrace it together. As he shouted the last word, the light swelled one more time, bursting forth with an explosion of brilliance that lit up the very earth beneath them. From the depths of that radiance, a soft presence enveloped their hearts. Hope flows so long as you choose it, echoed that gentle voice again, stronger as though God's breath flowed through every beam of light, but just as Eli felt an overwhelming certainty wash over him, a pulse of darkness crashed against their light, a final desperate onslaught aimed to sever their bond. Eli's heartbeat faltered. Could they withstand this unfathomable force? Would faith hold them together, or would their connection fray and collapse under the weight of existential dread? In that terrifying moment, the battle's south end loomed close, a harrowing question resting heavy in the air. Could the force of their combined will withstand the shadow's relentless assault, or would they be forever ensnared in its icy grip? The house trembled violently as darkness swirled around them, a lethal tempest threatening to consume all hope. Eli couldn't tell if the chaotic noise around him was from the shadows or the pounding of his own heart. With each beat, he felt the ancient power of his ancestors surge within him, urging him to stand firm. Whatever lay ahead would demand everything, and he had to believe they could break free. Together. Eli shouted, invigorated by a newfound sense of unity. The crowd mirrored his plea, a ripple of courage flowing through the sea of faces. They formed a tighter circle, linking hands, fingers intertwining with determination rather than fear. The shadows writhed angrily, twisting and curling like smoke, eager to snuff out the flicker of light surrounding Eli and his companions. You think you're free? The darkness hissed, its voice a cackle that sent shivers down spines. Your history is stained an unyielding shackle. But Eli stepped forward, pulling from the strength of the people around him. We grow from our scars, he retorted, his voice resolute and steady against the storm. We are more than our past. We are made of the dreams of those before us. Just then, a blast of radiant energy surged from the book, illuminating their surrounding with a blinding light that drowned the shadows for a fleeting moment. Eli gasped at the sights flooding into his mind, a collage of laughter, unity, and healing. They were all woven intricately into the fabric of their shared existence, lessons of love and connection that had stood the test of time. Feel it. Remember. We are the light in this dreadful darkness. He bellowed, tears streaming as the shadows flickered uncertainly, momentarily pulled back from their violent grasp. Encouraged, the woman with fierce eyes raised her voice, igniting the crowd's passion. We are warriors of truth. From ashes of despair, we emerge renewed. Those who have fallen are our guiding stars. Eli could feel their spirits rising, transforming fear into a mighty rallying cry. The shadows snapped and roared, but he zeroed in on the light. The connection between them, a golden thread linked each heart. Let us rewrite our story. He called out, the words rushing forth. From the wreckage, we build. From the pain, we empower. With one tremendous shout, they echoed his declaration, the collective voice resonating in the air like thunder. We choose to rise. We choose to heal. In response, the darkness wailed. It shrieked with the agony of a wounded creature, recoiling beneath the force of their newfound unity. The pulsating light pushed forth, pressing against the dark, creating a brilliant barrier that shone brighter than the shadows ever could, but still, doubt echoed in Eli's mind. Will it be enough? And then, unexpectedly, the voice from within the light returned, stronger this time. Faith is born in the darkest moments. Believe in the power of choice, it is your greatest weapon. The shadows howled, furious at the light encroaching upon their domain. Fools! You will crumble. Eli's breath hitched. Not today. He rallied again, every word fueled by hope. We will claim our future. As he spoke, the spectral figures shifted behind him, familiar faces, urging him on, a reminder of the legacies woven into their fight. Eager to thwart their chaos, Eli made one final push. No more curses. No more chains. We will not be prisoners of our past. As his voice resonated, the light pulsated further, forcing against the darkness, illuminating every corner of doubt and fear. The crowd roared as one, standing firm against the shadow's oppressive weight. We are strong. Together. A backlash of energy fired from their link, igniting the air around them into a fierce glow that rippled outward, creating waves of golden light that wove through the crowd, binding them tighter. As the darkness reeled, blinding images of joy and laughter danced in the air like stars, forming constellations of peace. That it was changing, the balance was shifting. Tremors filled the ground beneath their feet, but Eli stood firm. He could feel the warmth of his companions. Their hopes intermingling, feeding into one another. The darkness shrieked in denial, twisting and contorting as the waves of light closed in, but as they surged forward, Eli found himself questioning again. Is this it? Will we finally find peace? In that moment of uncertainty, he felt the ancestral presence beside him again. You have the strength, Eli. You have always had it. Embrace it. Embrace one another. The shadows only linger where light is not welcome. With a new clarity forming in his heart, Eli turned to the crowd. Let us embrace love together. Let us heal together. They shouted back, every voice lifted in defiance against the storm, every chord harmonizing the vibrations of unity. We choose love. We choose light. At that, their strength crashed against the darkness. A brilliant explosion of energy burst forth, casting shadows into retreat. The cacophony of anguished shrieks faded, swallowed by the immense illumination overtaking the room. Now. Hold on. Eli commanded as the echoes of despair dissolved, engulfed in unity, their power stretching into futures unimagined, and for the first time, the weight of their fears began to lift. The shadows were fading. Cracks opened in the darkness, light streaming through. The world beyond, drenched in brightness, awaited their passage. All the pain from their past had built this moment, their true reality looming like dawn breaking after a long and harrowing night. That as they emerged from the darkness, breaths mingling with newfound resolve, Eli felt a rush of love and connection enveloping every heart. They hadn't just survived together, they had transformed. Eli stood tall, looking back at the once overbearing shadows. We are not perfect. We bend, but we will not break. We choose compassion, we choose understanding, we choose each other. No longer shackled to old burdens, they walked forward into the light, skin tingling with hope. Their voices echoed into the morning, proclaiming healing, declaring change, and marking the dawn of a new era built on love. What lay behind them was history, but what stood ahead was a choice to embrace their truth and weave love into the fabric of their lives. Their story would continue, shaped by their decisions, guided by the light, and as the sunlight broke through, illuminating the world anew, hope unfurled its wings and took flight. Now, that's how you end a tale. But before we go, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to help us feed the algorithm. And don't be shy, flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild conclusion. This is the moment to show your support, so share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share the light of this story.